Hey guys, in today's training, I'm going to be going over how to fix your environment. This is the first step in the E3S framework, which I've come up with. You can go look at the video here on my channel. I'll link it actually, which goes over the entire system. It's a 3-step system to fix your physique, fix your life, or transform your physique, transform your life, okay? So without further ado, if you want to optimize your life and your body, you have to start by optimizing your environment. And let me explain. Your environment can either push you towards your goals or pull you away from them. And it does this through the habit loop, okay? What is the habit loop? First, you have a cue, then you have a craving, then you have a response, and then you have the reward. And to show you this, I'm going to give you an example here. So let's look at this. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you see is your phone next to your bed. This is a cue, right? Your craving is you want to check social media, okay? You crave the dopamine that you're going to get from checking social media, seeing those notifications, right? Number 3, you check social media. This is the response. And finally, what you get is you get the reward. You get to see, hey, I've got some notifications, and I get to see what everybody else is doing, right? That is the habit loop, okay? And the thing about the habit loop is it is hard to overcome. You have these cravings, you see a cue, you have the cravings, and it is hard to overcome these, okay? You can do it, but it's hard to do, and for the reason I'm going to explain here. So you can only resist so much because of something called ego depletion or decision fatigue, okay? Your self-control or willpower draws upon conscious mental resources that can be taxed to exhaustion. So over the course of the day, you have basically a battery, and that battery drains the more conscious decisions we have to make. And eventually you're going to be depleted, and you're just going to probably mental boom. You might binge out on anything, any like food or other indulgences, whatever, okay? And so this is the main reason we need to fix our environment, because it's very, very hard to just will yourself through something when you have no willpower left. We want to save our mental resources for things that actually matter. The things that we can control, our environment, which we can control, should be in tip-top shape so we don't have to make a whole bunch of decisions. We're not actively getting in our own way with our environment to accomplish the things that we want. It's worth mentioning that you can control most of your environments, most of the time. Be in control of what you can be and be content with the rest, okay? So an example that I say here is if you're staying over at a family member's house, you can control very few things. Your control is probably limited, but you can control those few things. You know, you can control your clothing, you can control your phone, but you got to be at peace with the rest of the things happening, okay? So even when you're not in your own place, you can still control your environment to an extent, okay? So let's get into how to actually fix your environment so that you can live a more frictionless life. You know, there's not so much friction. You're not having to rely on your willpower to overcome your environment, okay? So here are the steps. And this is the practical approach to fixing your environment. Here are the steps. Step 1, identify your environments, okay? Maybe your environments look like this. This is your kitchen cabinet. This is your car. Maybe it's a mess. This is your refrigerator. You got sodas, Gatorades, whatever. Your bedroom maybe is a mess. Your desk is a mess. Maybe where you hang out outside of where you live is not good for the things that you want to do, the things that you want in life, okay? That is step 1. Identify all of your environments, okay? You can make a list of all of those. There are macro environments, so the larger environments like your apartment, okay? And the micro environments, your smaller environments where tasks actually get done. Your bed, your washroom, okay, your bathroom, your kitchen, etc. So there are a whole bunch of different micro environments, and you don't have to get wrapped up in the terminology. Just write down all of your environments, okay? And then the next thing you want to do is you want to identify what the intended purpose of these environments is, right? So like sitting down at your desk, do you want to write? Do you want to read? Do you want to work out in your home, or do you want to go out and work out? Do you want to eat healthy foods, right? You identify the intended purposes behind your environments, okay? And then you identify the actual purposes, like what you actually do, okay? Do you watch TV? Do you binge on your phone? Do you eat crappy food? Do you get on your computer and indulge in adult media that is degenerate? Is this what you do? Right. So you write down all of the actual purposes, and here's an example of what that would look like, because the next thing you do is compare, right? You compare these two lists, okay? You do your environment, you write down all of your environments here. Boom, 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 car, bed, kitchen, desk. You write down the desired purpose, right? And then you write down the actual purpose, the intended purpose and the actual purpose, right? And then you determine whether they serve the intended purpose, the intended or desired purpose, right? So desk, study, work, respond to emails. That's what I want to do when I sit down at my desk. Okay, what do I actually do? I actually play video games, watch YouTube, watch porn. Okay, not good. Do they serve? Does that environment serve the intended purpose? No. Okay, and so on. You can pause the video and look at these. You can make a sheet like this, and you should go through and write all of this stuff down, because it's good to get it down and see it. Do these environments serve the serve the intended purposes, my intended purposes? Okay. Next thing you want to do is you want to determine the things within your environment that are causing them to not serve your intended purposes, right? Or they don't serve their intended purpose, right? Think cues, okay? Cues. What are the cues within my environment that cause me to have a craving and then cause me to have a response to ultimately get that reward? Think about on your computer. You probably have video games on your computer. Maybe one thing that you'd have to do is get rid of the video games so the cues aren't there, okay? You uninstall that video game. Maybe that video game's like 30 gigs to download, okay? It's going to take time to re-download that video and re-download that video game and play that video game, okay? And maybe you want to allow yourself to do that every weekend, but maybe what you have to do is you have to uninstall it and then uninstall it like Sunday night and then reinstall it Friday night or Saturday night, you know, whatever you want to do. But you have to get rid of the cues in your environment that cause you to have the cravings that then cause you to have a negative response or like give into those cravings and ultimately get that reward, which is not good for you, okay? So you have to determine, you have to write a list of all of these things in your environment that are not working for you, that are making you crave something that you really shouldn't have, okay? You're craving something that's keeping you from, accomplishing your actual goals, right? So you create a list for those things, and then you have to determine how you're going to eliminate them, okay? And this is pretty brutal, okay? But there are three kind of like tiers to doing this, and these are just examples of the different tiers, right? So keeping it in sight. This is like you get rid of it from your environment, but it's still within reach, okay? This is going to take some willpower to overcome. So these have to be pretty, the cue and the craving has to be pretty low in order for this to work. Keeping it in sight, okay? Storing it away. I have actually found success with storing things away. My phone, I have an extra phone that I keep all my social media on, and I actually shut it off and put it away during the day, and I don't get on it, okay? And then in the evening, I will get on it, or if I need to get on it to, upload something or something else like that, I can get on it. But for the most part, it is stored away and shut off. So this is a good way to eliminate things, okay? But again, getting rid of it is the ultimate way to actually eliminate it, right? And you may have to do that with some of these things. So I encourage you've got to make a list, right? Make a list of all the things, and then you have to put them into one of three buckets, okay? You have to put them into the not so severe, moderately severe, and then extremely severe, right? Eliminate them entirely. Eliminate them partially. don't really eliminate them at all because they're not that hard for you to overcome, right? Okay, so those are the 6 steps. Let's go over them again real quick. Identify environments, okay? And then identify the intended purposes for the environments. Find out the actual purpose for the environments, compare that list, and identify the environments that you need to focus on, okay? And then within those environments you need to focus on, you need to find the cues that cause you to have the cravings, that cause you to have the response to get that reward, the things that you don't want to do. For instance, you don't want to play video games when you're really supposed to be studying or working or responding to emails, right? So you've got to uninstall that video game, maybe. Okay? And then finally, you have to, in some way, eliminate those things, right? You make a list of the cues, and then you eliminate those cues in some way. And you can go less to more severe, okay? And ultimately, what is this going to do for you? This is going to give you so much more clarity and so much more peace with your environment, okay? You go from having a terrible environment for what you actually want to do to an environment that works for you. And another thing I might mention is you want to be orderly and tidy. You want your environment to be organized. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but if you are struggling with that, you need to clean. You need to make sure you're cleaning. You need to make sure you're organizing and everything else like that, because physical clutter contributes to mental clutter. You're not able to get as much done because, again, we go back to this, right? We go back to the ego depletion, decision fatigue. Self-control or willpower draws upon conscious mental resources that can be taxed to exhaustion. So when you have a whole bunch of things all over the place, when you have a whole bunch of clutter, that's a lot of there are conscious resources being put into looking at those things and then saying, I'm not going to do anything with all of the crap that's all over my room, right? That is a lot of conscious mental resources being expended to just ignore that stuff, okay? And maybe you've gotten really good at that, really good at ignoring, but it is very, very bad, okay? Even for people who have gotten good at ignoring clutter, it is bad. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to go from this environment to this environment. You want to go from an environment that works for you, you want to go from an environment that doesn't work for you to an environment that works for you. Okay? All right, finally, you want all the info on this E3S framework that I'm talking about, which this is the first step, and I've given you, a brief overview here, a brief training. Follow me on Instagram and DM me the word ready, and I will get back to you. Look, I only work with 10 guys at a time, and I want to help guys in particular change their lives, turn their lives around, transform their physiques, and transform their lives, because really this kind of transformation is going to pay dividends throughout your entire life. But you got to get it right now, okay? And that starts with your environment. So follow me at the Greg Leopold on Instagram. Watch my content there. Keep consuming my content here on YouTube. And I wish you guys the best of luck in fixing your environment, because this is the first step to transforming your physique, transforming your life. Thanks, guys.